Hello, everyone. I'm Billie Button. I am the co-host and creator of Dragwerk, and I have my lovely crew member Shay Nanigans from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, with me. He's co-hosting this panel today. This is the persona building panel. It's called Building Personas and Brands, and we have three lovely panelists with us today. We have Crème from Pittsburgh, and we have Nitrix Oxide from San Francisco, and we have Stevie Phoenix from Ohio. And they're going to answer some questions for us about persona building and building your own brand. Just so, as I know there's a few of you out there that need some help that I've met and talked to. And so we thought, this would be a good idea. So we're going to get started. The first question, as Jay and I will go back and forth and we'll ask the questions. So I'm going to ask the first one. The first question is, how do you go about figuring out your drag persona?
Does anybody else want to go first? I can jump in real quick. I'll
go
break the ice. Hi, everybody. If you don't know me, I'm Stevie Phoenix. I am from Toledo, Ohio. And so starting and figuring out your drag persona, I honestly, when I started, I had zero guidance. I didn't get into, drag families are great, but they're not always available. And to be quite honest, they're not always necessary. When I first started, I picked kind of a genre that I really, really liked. Mm-hmm. I'm very much into classic rock, anything from like the 70s, 80s, AC/DC, Queen. So I kind of stuck in a comfort zone for a little bit. I knew that I wanted to be a drag king. I knew that I liked this music and it made me happy and it made other people happy. And I also knew that I really wanted to make fun of toxic masculinity. So when I'm on stage, Stevie Phoenix is a bit of, let's just say it. He's kind of a little bit of a sleazeball, just a little bit, but it's in this very campy and over the top way to where you see that the joke is on me, if that makes sense. So I knew that those things going into it, that's what I wanted to do. So, so I kind of stuck to that genre of music and, it kind of pigeonholed me in the beginning, but it made me very recognizable. So much so that Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Ypsilanti up in that area, they coined the term King of Dad Rock. That's what I was known as up there for a while. And it worked. It worked. People, when they heard the music start, they're like, that's a Stevie song. I wanted to also have like a very specific look. The one thing about my drag face that has stayed kind of the same, they've evolved over the years, but my eyebrows have always been a big statement, like a very signature piece for me. So I knew I wanted my face to be recognizable. So we're going to work on these brows and make them very recognizable. And I also knew I want people to know what I'm about. Like I want to create some consistency. I want, people hear AC/DC or Queen start playing. They're like, Stevie's on the stage, let's go. So that was kind of what I did in the beginning. I knew I wanted to make fun of toxic masculinity. I knew I wanted to be recognizable audibly and visually.
I'll go next.
Yeah, what's up, Luna? I hate interrupting.
No, you're all good. I am totally flexible. I can put my legs behind my head. I'm so flexible.
Hey!
I think first and foremost is figuring out what you like and what you want to put out there and what style. I think is a very good first step for figuring out your drag persona. And I think part of that is really experimenting and realizing you don't have to be married completely to one idea. Try it out and see what you can do best and what makes you happiest, because this is your art. You should be happy making it. yeah, so, and also like experimenting with different genres, because I started out as a drag king in 2012 and eventually got into burlesque, and now I just kind of mush it all together and make something beautiful and wonderful. And even if something doesn't quite work out right away, it can come back later and you can make wonderful art with it and bring it in. I really loved Stevie's point about finding just like little signature things with your appearance is very helpful. Me, it's mostly my hair. I do sometimes wear wigs, but in general, I like to keep my Crème there. That is exactly why I chose my last name to be Crème, is my hair. Also, it kind of pigeonholes you in, because now I'm like, I don't really want to ever change my hair, and I've had like the same hair for like over half a decade. So definitely choose wisely. I'm happy with my hair. I'm not complaining about that, but choose little things that maybe you created or that really just like tell the world, this is me. I think also signature colors. I have chosen today to wear blue. I wear a lot of blue. Definitely don't stick to just one color for like ever, but it's really cool to like make a lot of things that are made out of your favorite color, and that can be one of your signatures. I literally call this Luna Blue now. Yeah, I think that's what I've got to start building your drag persona.
Well, thank you. Nitrix?
Okay, so for me, very much like Stevie, I grew up with like a lot of rock music and punk rock. So that's how I started. I would go out in the Castro and I'd build these giant headpieces made out of construction paper, whatever I could find. They wouldn't clear the door of the club, but I got in anyway. And I had smeared makeup, everything. I was known as the club kid in the Castro. And I started going to the Dragula viewing parties, showing up in a full look. And that's really where I got inspired. I got inspired by Dragula and all the really weird, crazy alternative art. Mm-hmm. And that's where I kind of built Nitrix. I wanted Nitrix Oxide to be kind of like a non-binary name. It didn't really constrict to a queen or king. And there's nothing wrong with either, but I kind of wanted to play in the middle. So I started off with blood pouring out of my mouth and not wearing wigs and wearing wings and everything. And when I started getting booked to other venues, they were like, that's perfect, but we need more like pop songs and we need more of this for this to do a brunch. So over the years, Nitrix has kind of changed where I can basically do any show and fit into it. But I think it's really important that no matter what kind of genre, what kind of show you're doing, you still kind of put your own drag character's flair on it. Like you could do a brunch, you could do pop music, but like how would your character fit into that song? So instead of doing more punk rock all the time, I kind of molded into doing more comedy. And that's kind of where Nitrix grew. As for my makeup, it's pretty much this is the Nitrix look. I still do a lot of crazy makeup all the time, but when you're getting ready for a show, you kind of have to stick with kind of like a brand because it's a lot easier to get ready. So I stick with very colorful, very big eyes, very anime, but I still have the black lip, the black eyebrows, and the black eyes. That's kind of like the Nitrix brand. I'm a theater kid, so I like makeup that pops for the back row. So you can see this anywhere, whether you're in the corner of the bar or right next to the railing. So, but yeah, that's where Nitrix kind of grew. Again, I wear wigs now. I started wearing dresses. That's very scary. But yeah, after 3 years, I'm still growing. I'm still learning during quarantine too. And it's still the Nitrix growing up like 3 years ago where I kind of break gender boundaries and really don't follow the rules.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for your answers so far. I just want to take a quick minute to let you guys know that their tipping info and their social medias are going to be in the YouTube video description. You'll be able to find it there, and it will also be posted periodically in the chat, so you'll be able to see it. But you know, if you don't see it and you don't catch it at the end and stuff, you can always come back and watch the YouTube recording of this, and you will be able to find everyone's information in the description as well. Shay, would you like to say the next question?
Yeah, of course. Now, Stevie, you already kind of touched on this a little bit, but the next question is, how do you get your name out there once you've started your persona? And what kind of social media platforms, if any, do you guys think work the best, either for yourself or just drag in general?
Do you guys just want to go in the same order to keep things uniform?
Yeah.
All right,
Sounds
cool.
good.
So just to make sure I understand, how do you get your name out there, and what kinds of social media platforms are best? Yes?
Yeah.
Great. So getting your name out there, first of all, you have to choose a name. And that's the hardest part, I swear to God. I probably labored so much over like what my name was going to be. The first name was easy because I'm trans and I didn't realize it at the time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Stevie, that's it, because it's kind of a nickname version of my dead name. And it was something that I'd always wished that I'd chosen for myself, but thought it was too late because I was older. And that's silly. That's nonsense. So much like other trans, like I feel like that's just like that's a very trans specific thing. I know so many other artists, especially in my area, that their stage name is the same as their first name, because it kind of happened that way for a few of us. So the first name was easy. The last name, Phoenix, fire, rebirth, kind of cool imagery. I really didn't put a whole lot of thought into it, to be honest with you, but it worked out good for me because I actually like the imagery. So getting your name out there, you need to support. You have to support it, whether that is digitally, in person. I know in person is really iffy right now. Obviously, we are all doing our best to stop the spread. But once life gets back to normal, showing up to the shows, tipping, being there enthusiastically, come in face, come out of face. Let the show producers know, like, hey, I'm new. My name is Stevie Phoenix. I just started performing. If you have a hot spot, I would love to be involved in it. Don't get too big for your britches in the beginning. You're going to be doing a lot of free work. And that's how you get, that's how you get your name out there. I would take on and do any open stage I could find. I would hotspot anywhere. I would even drive in some cases, I drove 2.5 to 3 hours to go hotspot somewhere. Now, is that sustainable? Absolutely not. But this is how you got to get your name out in the beginning. It's a hustle. It's work. Just make sure you're out there and supporting people. Make sure that your presence is known. Shout out other artists on social media. Put them in your stories. Things like that. And don't be afraid to ask. I feel like a lot of us, especially in the beginning, we're so new to this world. It's really easy to get really intimidated and really overwhelmed. I remember standing next to queens and, 6.5 feet tall, and just seeing this beautiful big hair and all this makeup and these nails, and just feeling so tiny and so insignificant next to them, and thinking, oh gosh, like, how am I going to, they're just people. They've just got a costume on. Like, ask to be involved. Are you going to get told no? Yes. Rejection sucks. It does. But it's kind of just part of performing. If somebody, those aren't your people anyway. Move on somewhere else. Find somebody who's going to appreciate you for your art. As far as social media goes, God, it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary. And what platforms? That's so dependent on things. I feel like that depends on where you live and what your performance goals are. For example, for me, Toledo, Ohio is still kind of living back in 2001. So Facebook is really important for me for local things. I wish it weren't, because to be quite honest, I find Facebook to be very toxic, and I wish that I could get off of it, but I can't, because that's how most of the local people follow me and see my shows. Instagram is awesome. It's a really great way to meet other drag people. I mean, it's 100% visual. Twitter is really great for reaching out more regionally. I've met such wonderful artists over Twitter that are in the UK, or, that are in Australia or Tel Aviv. And you wouldn't meet those people otherwise. So, I mean, I think they're all important for different reasons. It really depends on what your goal is. But, posting consistently is very important. Posting things that are different, like not posting the same kind of thing constantly. You want to see different looks, different kinds of content. That's important. keeping your stories full is important because it keeps your head at the top of the social media thing, and people will be like, oh, I wonder what Stevie's up to, and they can click on it and things like that. Yeah, consistency, as well as diversity, as well as networking. You got to be in it not just for yourself. You have to make sure that you're supporting other people on your platforms.
Thank you.
Yes. So, bouncing off of the name part and deciding a name, I always like to really recommend making a list of going back to things that make you happy. Think of just general things in life, TV shows, movies, books that you like, and characters that really resonate with you, or encompass what you want to present as your art. For me, Luna is a nod to Sailor Moon. I was actually very nervous at first to pick my name as Luna, because I was like, oh, is that silly? Because I've just always been a Sailor Moon fan, and I've gotten made fun of it for it. So I was a little insecure, and I had a friend who was in my burlesque class with me who was like, absolutely not, please do it. And I did it. I was also almost Fifi the Crème after my first cat, who was wonderful and named Fifi, but I ended up going with Luna. So yeah, just really follow your heart. Don't think twice. If it feels right to you, like, just go with it. The La Crème part is not as eloquent. I just wanted a French last name, and I thought my hair looked like cream. So that's what I did there. But I wrote out lists of just like words and verbs and everything that I could think of that would relate to my persona and present this like moon goddess that I was trying to present. Along with that, also always make sure that you are checking to make sure nobody has your name. Check Google, check Facebook, check Instagram, check all the things. If there's someone out there who has a name who hasn't performed in a long time and you want their name, probably still don't do it, but you can reach out to them and just be like, hey, I thought of this name and we have the same name. What's the deal? Can we talk here? It's always worth a shot, I would say, at least. But that's definitely a huge thing to be careful of and make sure that you do when building your name. As for getting your name out there, I had a lot of the same notes that Stevie actually brought up. And I think the key of that is networking. In person, in shows, attend shows, talk to people, and just get to know people is honestly the best way. Also taking bookings, take as many bookings as you can and are comfortable with. I have been in some sketch situations of bookings. Specifically a biker bar in Johnstown was one of probably my sketchiest, to tell a quick antidote there. But use your best judgment. If you don't feel safe, please don't do the booking. We love you. We want you to be safe. But do try to be a little bit open as you are starting out and learning your craft, to take every opportunity that you can to get on stage and get used to performing on stage and getting people to see you and learn your name, and you get to learn their names. Yeah, I'd say that's the biggest. And with that is social media. Now, I really wish I could say, focus on this one, but I really can't. All of them have different pools of different areas. I've found opportunities on all of them. I would say specifically the big three: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I love TikTok. I think there's actually a lot of great networking that I've been finding from that. I've found some really great performers on there, and I've started to like follow their work on there. But it's still taking off. Definitely, though, keep an eye on it because it's important. But I say the big three are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And just, it's actually like I am a fan. I don't know if everyone's a fan of this, but if you are posting content, you can post it to all three. They'll probably get a little bit different of an audience on each thing. People are going to see your face more than once.
Mm-hmm.
They might get annoyed, but they probably won't, is what I've discovered in my time. So, and it's just, you're in front of their face even more, and they get to see you going through each of their social medias. So your face keeps coming up. So definitely focus on that social media, follow people, genuinely just engage with people. When people do things that are awesome, support them. And I think that is the best way to get your name out, and my thoughts on social media.
Definitely for my name, I got it from actually the dentist. He was talking about, when I was getting a tooth pull, he talked about nitrous oxide, laughing gas he was giving me. And he goes, laughing gas, it's deadly, it's addictive, and it won't go away. And I was like, if I put an X by Nitrix, then I was like, that'd be perfect. Describes my drag wear. It lingers, it's funny, but you can't get out of their face. And that's kind of what my joke for my drag. I show up everywhere, my pictures everywhere. I want to be involved a lot, not to annoy people, but it's just honestly, I love drag and I want to be out in the community, and I just always want to be present. And I think Stevie and Luna touched on this, but really going out to the shows, I know everybody says this, but going out and being present for all the events in the community, whether it's, a rally or a protest, or you're just going to a show, there's a drag festival in your town, get involved in it. I know this last year we had Oaklash Online, that's our festival in Oakland, run by Mama Celeste, and I didn't get in this year. We actually prioritized a lot of POC artists this year. And, I got on a wait list, didn't actually get in for the live show, but instead I reached out and I said, if there's any way I can help with the production this year, first year online, let me know. I've been on Twitch. So I moderated most of the festival. And, the next year when they're looking at applications, they remember the people who, complained about not getting in, and they remember the people who didn't get in, but offered their services in other ways. So, they remember that. And if there's a spot next year and they're choosing between two people, they'll probably pick you.
Mm-hmm.
I also just have learned this, where if you go to shows and you're backstage for the first time, again, take those tip spots. I'm 3 years in, I still take tip spots because that's the best way to get in somewhere. Also, just be nice to everybody. I've gotten booked for a lot of other shows just because they said I've been nice. I've been nice to the bar staff, the bartenders. A bigger venue like maybe Bo and the Castro, there's security on Sunday because it's so busy. I would get to know the security's names. The managers hear about that and they remember that. I've actually gotten to create and host my own shows at venues just because of reputation alone. Maybe they haven't even seen me perform. So it's just like a day job. Just network and be nice to everybody, be kind, have a professional attitude. That will get you a really far way. As with social media, I would say, yeah, Facebook and Instagram are probably the best. I personally love Instagram just from posting looks or using the story to post posters. I also say right now with digital drag, it's good to use YouTube. I know there's copyright like laws and everything with law of the music, but sometimes even sharing it when you're applying for a show, you can put it as unlisted and you can still share it that way. It's easier than uploading a file and waiting for it to load. Also, there's websites like Wix and Weebly. They're a really easy way to build a website. I'd really recommend building a website and putting that on a business card. If you go to like DragCon or some other convention or big event, website, it's a great way to show all of your looks in a portfolio. You can post videos. It's just an easy way to send somebody where they can see everything in one place. I definitely recommend it. And you can make a show schedule too to make sure people know where you're going to be at. So I just say for social media, like do the best that works for you. Facebook, I love, but sometimes the events don't get as much traction. I don't use the Facebook events very much, but for other people, it works. So I think throughout the years, you kind of just find your own way and find what works for you.
Definitely. Well, thank you for your answers for that question. Our next question is, how do you incorporate your persona into your performances?
That's such a good question. A lot of that I think comes with trial and error and just trying different things and seeing what works. Like I said, I knew I was very, very comfortable with classic rock, so I stuck to that for quite a while. And I knew that I wanted to make fun of toxic masculinity. So, like, when I was on stage, I would read that with my body language. Like, when I first started, this beautiful glam boy that you see before you did not exist. I was, still had like the nice thick eyebrows, but this never would have happened. Rhinestones, no, forget it. Like, I was very like dad on vacation. I would wear like open kind of like Hawaiian style shirts sometimes. I had like a signature jean jacket that I would always have. And sometimes I would come out with sunglasses. And like, I would really like when I would dance, I would lead with my dick. Like, you know what I mean? It was very, like, yes, I am sleazy dad on vacation. Like, here I come. And people lived, like, they loved it. So yeah, I would just say play around. Don't be afraid to practice. I feel like sometimes people feel silly, like practicing. Don't sit somebody down. And I remember my first performance ever that I did in drag. God, I still even remember it was hard to handle. And I remember I was so nervous. So I sat down my husband and my best friend and I was like, okay, so I'm going to do this for you. And I know I'm going to look silly, but I really need to do it. And please tell me how it looks. I've never, even though I'd been on stage for practically all my life, I'd never done drag. I'd never lip synced. I'd never even really been on stage by myself without somebody else having directed me, if that makes sense. And when you're doing drag, you are the performer, you are the director, you are the producer. So it was like a little overwhelming for me at first. So try, see what happens, use your body language. I paint just like Nitrix said, like, paint for the back row. That's what I do as well, because I want my eyes to like really pop. I want people to see like my expressive features, because that's a really big part of my persona. I'm a little campy, I'm very theatrical, I'm energetic, I'm over the top, and I want to, when I'm on stage, I want that to show. So yeah, don't be afraid to just try, and don't hold back. Sometimes I'll see new drag artists get up there and I just want to like push them a little bit. I'm like, oh baby, you're so close. Like, you're so close. Just believe what you're selling and other people will buy it. I promise. You can get up there and do the weirdest fucking shit, but as long as you're up there with, sorry, am I allowed to swear?
You're good.
Okay. But as long as you're doing it, I don't know the rules. As long as you're doing it with confidence, it's okay. Like, think about when you've been at a club and you see a drag queen and she is just living her best life, or king, he's just living his best life up there being ridiculous. Are you sitting there questioning? You know what I mean? Like, you're not questioning that artist. You're looking at them because they're the ones in charge right now. Especially as somebody who's not a drag artist, looking at that, I remember it is so magical. It is so mind-blowing. It is so humbling. The person on the stage has the attention. You have their attention. Don't be afraid to push. Get up, don't be afraid to own it. Step with confidence. Pretend like that stage is yours. Fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yes. All right. So I'm still kind of on what we were talking about before, with just like finding those little details in your look, and as Stevie just mentioned, like in your actual performance. I feel that on such a level. I also trained in belly dance, so I have very flowy arms in my performances, and that's kind of a thing that I do a lot. And actually with that, think about just things that you've learned throughout your life. If you've taken any dance classes, tap ballet, anything like that, and try to dig back. I always regret that I can't remember some of the things from when I was like 7. I was like, no, all of these free dance moves just right in front of me, and I can't recall them. I used to know every word for these ballet moves. But yeah, go into there and even think about like moves you liked when you learned it, and you can bring that in to building like some of your signature moves and stuff. And definitely play up on your talents when you're thinking about signature moves. I have, as I mentioned, very bendy legs. So I found that stocking peels are a really awesome thing that I can do, and I can do all sorts of weird things with my legs and peel stockings off in really wonderful manners. And I try to incorporate that in every routine that I do. It doesn't always fit in. You're not always going to fit in. It happens. But yeah, thinking about that on signature moves, even like symbolic things. I am a sucker for people who have things on their outfits that reflect their name. I own, actually surprisingly, not a lot of moon stuff, like wearing stuff. I actually I have more stuff for my mortal day-to-day life with moons on it. But I definitely support playing into your name to help build your brand. Don't overdo it. No one wants, I mean, I'm sorry. It can be a little bit of an overkill. You can try other things, but it's really nice to have that little thing that you come back to. That's like, this is me. This is my core. This is the character that I am. Just trying to think if I had anything else to add on to that. And no, I don't. I'm going to pass it along.
I definitely think with like looking at a song and everything, I think actually digital drag has really helped me with performing and kind of getting the song better, because when you don't have an audience in front of you, you're really trying to create like a music video almost and not a performance. So really when you're looking at the song, you have to think about visuals and background and what it's going to look like together when you edit. Mm-hmm. So I think it's helped me not only know the words, but better understand the song and the lyrics and the intention behind why I'm performing the song. I've noticed that the few live shows I've gone back to now, I feel like I'm more careful about what songs I'm selecting and then why I'm selecting them, the costume, everything. I feel like it all fits together more. Again, make sure you know the words. That's the most important. That's another thing, like going to shows that people say all the time, but really you need to know the words because you can't really connect with the song if you don't know what you're saying. But yeah, just the costume, everything, the whole look, and really trying to make a connection with the audience too. I find a lot of the time I'll plan a whole, like, I'll try to plan some choreo or some movements with the song. And then actually at the show, I think maybe about 10% of that actually makes it into the song because I'm just interacting with people. So don't plan yourself too much. It's good, like Stevie said, to rehearse, but also don't stick too much to it. Feel free to like play with the audience, play up with them. Sidewalk performances are great because you get random people interacting with you walking by who have no intention of seeing a drag show, but they're going to be in one today. So it's always just good to interact and kind of improv and play in the moment. But yeah, just have fun with it. I think that's the most part. Have fun with it and pick songs that you enjoy yourself, like out of drag too. And yeah, just improv, just go for it. Again, with the baby queens and kings, I just see sometimes they get really hesitant, but I think if you just relax and let go, it's a lot more believable if you're having fun with it.
Thank you. Yeah. So for this next question, guys have kind of already answered it, so I'm going to make it a little fun instead. So you'll have 3 seconds each of you, and I'll let you pick. Do you think it's more important to have a persona first, or is it more important to have an aesthetic first?
Ooh.
Okay.
Only 3 seconds?
Okay,
it depends.
maybe 5.
Wait, okay, here we go. Here's mine. It depends. If you're focusing on in-person shows, persona. If you're focusing on online, aesthetic.
Well, thank you.
I want to say persona. Just because I feel like if you know who you are, then like if you establish who you are, then it's a little easier to create that aesthetic. That is my answer.
I agree with Luna. I think persona, because I think internally what your character is builds the aesthetic. So I think the persona is kind of like the building block.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. And the next question is, what types of drag are out there? And also, is there any drag etiquette a newbie should be aware of? And also the last one is, what is the most important trait in a drag artist? We kind of combine this so they feel like they go together.
Is this still our lightning round? Do it quickly.
No.
Okay. All right. I'm so sorry. Could you repeat those for me one more time?
The first one is, what types of drag are out there? The next one is there any drag etiquette a newbie should be aware of? And then the third one is, what is the most important trait in a drag artist?
Okay. So what types of drag are out there?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The answer is yes. If you can think of it, someone else has already thought of it. Drag, I like to refer to it as gender clownery. There are no rules. Just like there are no rules when it comes to gender in real life, there are no rules when it comes to drag. You want to come on stage and say my pronouns are lamp? Guess what, baby? You're a lamp. Absolutely. It really doesn't, yeah, there are no limits. And I think that that's what's so beautiful about it, that our expression through drag can be just as vast and just as beautiful as our gender expressions in real life. The second question again was etiquette for a newbie. Just being respectful, and like Nitrix said, being kind. Kindness goes a very long way. And being genuine goes a very long way. Etiquette, yeah, I would say, I mean, we kind of hit on this, come into it humbly and understanding that you're going to be hustling and doing some unpaid work. However, once you start transitioning out of newbie status and into being a little bit more experienced, it's important to know your worth as well. Because I believe in a rising tide lifts all boats. If, everybody is out here doing work for free or getting underpaid, it's setting an expectation that artists of the same level of experience are also going to do that for free or for very little money. Now, listen, just like Nitrix said, I'll still go and hotspot somewhere, especially if I've never performed there. Or shit, there's even this bar down in Toledo that I'll go and hotspot at once in a while because I just love it there. And I know I'm going to go make bank, and it's just a fun and beautiful atmosphere. But yeah, setting, anyway, that's getting into a whole different question. Etiquette for newbies. Yeah. Understand that you're going to be doing some unpaid work, come into it humbly, and don't go up to people that you don't know asking them to adopt you. That creates a very awkward situation. I have had so many baby kings ask me to adopt them. I don't have any drag children because I have real children. So that's always my kind of really, excuse for that. Actually, I don't do that. But other people might have big drag families. You can't just go up to them and be like, adopt me too. Mm-hmm. Not going to happen. And you don't want to do that, because just because you see somebody's persona on stage and you see their talent, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a person you want to vibe with, so don't try to get into a drag family right away. Wait, get to know people, see if that's even something that you want to do. And the last question was, I'm so sorry, remind me, ADD.
It's what is the most important trait in a drag artist?
Kindness. Yeah. That's actually, you talk about persona building and things like that. I have a t-shirt that's for sale on my website that says kindness is king. And yeah, I would definitely say kindness is the most important trait in a drag artist.
Great.
All right. Let's see. Oh gosh. I remember the second two. Could you please repeat the first question? I'm so sorry.
Okay. So for the first question is, what types of drag are out there? The second one is drag etiquette. And the third one is, what's the most important trait in a drag artist?
Heck yes. Okay. I agree with Stevie. The answer is yes. I'm gonna try to name some. There is nerdy drag, doing like cosplay drag. There's comedy drag. There's glam, like pageant drag. There is like kinky or gothy or even like creepy crawly drag. That's what I've got. And there's so many more. Those are just off the top of my head. Anything you can think of to turn into a drag routine, you can do it. That's about it. Yeah, if it's an object in your house, a show that you like, a concept you like, there are so many ways to do drag. Just do it. It's okay. You don't have to always fall into the same genre. It's fun to play around, and maybe you'll find a genre that you really like and you want to stick to, and that's cool too. But I would say research, because there's just so many little nuances with genre that you might find something that you never even knew existed and is just so perfect for you. So the answer is yes. Please research though. Woo. Etiquette. Okay. I would say definitely try your best to stay out of drama. And I'm talking like he said, she said, they said stuff. Just don't do it. It's just not worth it. Just focus in on your art and creating good and putting good into the world. It's not worth it to get into the petty drama that will often pop up. Is one piece of etiquette I would like to share. And in general, just like don't be a dick. Just as Stevie said, like kindness is king. Just don't walk into a place thinking that you are the best person in the room. Definitely like don't think you're terrible. Just keep your esteem and level. You are a royal amongst royals when you are walking into a place. There's no point in doing taking like these invisible competitions in your mind, going who's better than what. Just be chill, just be cool. Yeah, I think that would be the biggest thing. Don't assume bookings, I think, would be another good one. Don't assume that you're booked for something until you get a confirmation. Definitely like show up places, do open stages, do all of that stuff. But if there's like a show that's been running for or that's been advertised for 6 months and you show up in drag and you're like, hi, I'm here to perform, put me in the lineup, that's not cool. And I've totally seen that. And please don't do that. That's really stressful for a producer who's already stressed out. Yeah, I think that's what I have to say on etiquette. And yeah, and just sorry, I was just about to say be nice again. Don't say mean things about people. That's not nice either, in person or online. Just don't mess with that. Focus on your art. And the one trait I feel that is most important for a performer is passion. You need some passion to love your art and continue growing and building yourself as an artist, your social medias, your networking, your just everything. It takes a lot of work. You're doing so many things. I'd say passion is one of the most important things.
So, okay, I think I remember, I didn't go to college, but I think I remember all the questions. So the first one, like what kind of drag is there in the world? I think drag, like there's so many different categories, but also I don't want to name them off. I don't want to limit it. I think there's so many new performers in the last year of digital drag, and the ice scene, especially the Bay Area, is so diverse, and I'm so lucky to be a performer here. I think drag is whatever you can make it. And I've seen plenty of performers here where we have so many queens here and queuings who do drag king performances, and vice versa. We have a lot of kings here who try drag queen makeup. I mean, when I started going out, people would joke that I paint like a drag queen and dress like a king. because I wore a lot of like suits and everything. But I think it's just a big mishmash here where literally you could do anything at a show. I've gone to so many shows where there's a different type of performer in each slot. And I really like to see that. I think the more diverse a show is, not just in, race or gender, but also in type of performance is great. I've really tried to incorporate a lot of more queer musicians and live singing in my shows. During quarantine, I've researched a lot of like the Ziegfeld Follies in like 1920s and 30s. So now that we're starting to open up, I'm really trying to get more burlesque performers in my shows, because I think burlesque and drag, I think they intertwine a lot. And Luna, I agree. I'm with Luna. I become obsessed with burlesque. So I'm developing like a 20s show, like a speakeasy show, where I want to get a lot of burlesque performers to co-host with drag performers. And I really think we should kind of like meld those two worlds. So yeah, I just think the more we share space and intertwine, I think we're going to start learning about those different types. The next one for etiquette, we've all kept saying be nice, but really, like Luna said, the community tends to get toxic sometimes. I don't think intentionally. I think in entertainment in this industry, whenever there's competition, there's toxic ways kind of develop. So I think just stay away from that and kind of stick in your own lane. I think it's really important to like what goals you're focusing on and what your end result wants to be. Stay with that and don't worry about other people, because they're booking you. And you just want to invest in your character and your persona. And just, if you keep going, you're going to keep getting booked. And whether there's animosity or anything else, it doesn't affect you. Also, if you have a lot of people who are gossiping about you, you're probably doing something right and you're probably being successful. Just saying that for the new performers. Like, you're probably doing something good. But yeah, just be nice backstage. Just be there to have fun too, even though we are at work. A lot of the shows I have backstage, a lot of performers have said that the atmosphere backstage is always really fun, because I like to pick my friends and people I know who are very kind. A lot of performers who have been around for a while, and they're really good at greeting new performers. A lot of the times with newer performers, I'll try to like meet them at shows first and chat with them a lot before I put them on, because I really want to make sure we have a really positive atmosphere backstage and there's not going to be any drama at all. So yeah, don't be an asshole, be nice. There we go. I'll swear too, just so I'm in with the rest of the bunch. So yeah, I think also etiquette too. I already said this, but once you start developing, even though I'm only 3 years in, I think once you start getting shows, remember those performers that booked you, and remember that you once were a new performer. Be sure to remember that when you're getting these shows, you want to book these kind of big performers, but also remember to share the space and leave opportunities for new performers. Recently, I've applauded Mercedes Monroe from the House of Monroe here. She used to be Empress here in the city with the Imperial Court, really well known. But during June, which is going to be one of the biggest months coming up for Pride, she's reserving half her brunch show spots for new performers. And she booked about 8 to 10 new performers, which, spaces are limited for live shows right now. That's a lot. So I really respect those performers who remember their roots and remember where they came from. And Luna actually took my word I was going to use, but I'm so glad you used passion. I love that. I think to add on, the sum up with one word, I would say adaptability. I think even though you want to stick with your persona, don't let that put you in a box. Again, when you're doing different shows and when you start traveling, maybe it's good to remember who you are, remember what your aesthetic is, but also be able to change and grow. I have bought so many wigs in the last year where 2 years ago I would never wear a wig. But then I found out how to mold that into my character. And I think your aesthetic and how you look and how you perform always changes. So don't get stuck in one area and allow yourself to grow as a performer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I feel like with the narrative of the interview now, we've gotten to a point where, let's say we had a fictional character. They've gotten their show or two, they're figuring out their persona. They come back to you and they're like, I need more practice. So do you guys have any exercises or like just practice things, character sheets that help drag performers with their personas or just building their brand and building themselves?
So here's something fun. I actually have a background in marketing. So I used to be a business owner and I did all of our marketing for our business. And you guys, marketing is powerful. Practicing character building persona, getting yourself out there, as far as practicing like your looks and like your performances, you can do that at home, you can do that in front of a mirror, you can do it with your friends. As far as like practicing like how to get, you know, your brand built and things like that, I know it sounds cheesy. I'm also a graphic designer. The very first thing that I did when I picked my name is I made myself a logo. And it's just my name. And I feel like it very much encompassed who I was. My first name is written in kind of this retro style font. It's still very easy to read. My last name is very clear and easy to read. And the O in Phoenix is like this little fire ring. So I made that instantly, and it's kind of like a very dark and masculine feel. So I latched on to the colors orange and black very, very quickly when it came to not necessarily the way that I dress, but my online persona. If you go to my website is very, very masculine. It's lots of black, lots of oranges. So, you know, don't be afraid to reach out to people and be like, hey, you know, can you make me a logo? There are so many queer artists, and there are so many queer artists who are willing to do trades instead of, you know, hey, pay me this. Like, do you have something you can offer them? Yeah, sure. Visual branding is important. Get yourself a logo. One of the things that I started doing very early on is I would put all of my bookings on like one graphic. So I would pick like an image of myself. I would put my logo on it, and in the same font that I did for my last name, I would list all of my upcoming gigs, and that would make me look booked and blessed. Did people have to know that most of those gigs were open stages? Nope. Did anybody have to know that I wasn't getting paid when I was traveling 3 hours to Columbus? Absolutely not. Did somebody have to like get on there and ask me like, hey, I see you're traveling to Chicago. What's that entail? And for me to be like, actually, it doesn't entail anything. I'm going up there just for the experience. No, it looks cool as fuck. Like, what? Somebody from Ohio is going to Chicago? It makes you look official. It makes you look good. Going back to something that Nitrix said, websites. Get a website. Wix, Squarespace. What was another one you named? Weebly, things like that. If you're not familiar with coding and you want like a drag and drop style website, those are great. And it really is a one-stop shop for everything. Link all of your socials to it. Link your Facebook, link your YouTube, link your, you know, everything. We kind of already talked about the website, but yeah, don't be afraid of visual and digital branding. If you don't know a whole lot about that, there are lots of people who do. Look at artists in your area, you know what I mean? And if you see like them posting things that are visually pleasing to you, like, how did you do that? Reach out to them and ask them. I promise you that, you know, our DMs may get full, but most of us are very, very happy to help newcomers. And that's another thing. Just don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. There are lots of us that are willing to help you. And if we do not have time, we will be honest with you and simply say that we don't have time. That is not a personal thing. So yeah, don't take it personally. But like a lot of us really are quite willing to sit down and talk with you all about that. I think I veered away from the original topic once again. I'm very, very good at that because I talk a lot. But visual marketing, you know, the business card, like Nitrix said. I think that's all I've got.
Those are so many good ones. Let's see what I can add to that. So one thing, actually, this is kind of a springboard, but one thing that could help is, actually, sorry, I'm going to get to that in a second. Getting organized over here. I don't know of any specific like sheets to say like, here, fill this out. But I would definitely say, thinking back from just being in acting classes and doing acting type stuff, there's often a lot of like character sheets that I bet are out there that'll ask you questions, or even this is a little off the wall. If you want to get real deep, look for like journal prompts or just general prompts, like self prompts, and answer them as your character. That could be a very good way to just really build who you are, like on paper, if you need that for further defining things. I was tempted to say, try to fill out a D&D form, a character sheet, go for it, and make one for your persona. And that could actually be a fun activity. I actually do recommend that. I'm going to try that. But that for like the inner core, if you want to like define more things and like have a story, write a story about your character. That could be really fun too, and put that on your website. But for like actual, like with your name out there and building that and getting that to the community, I'd say posting consistently on things is extremely helpful for that. Just take pictures, put things out there, post on Instagram. And if you have like maybe a consistent day, it could be a little bit hard. I'm the worst at keeping a consistent day that I post things. I just kind of post things as I have them. But if you just have like every Thursday you post something, or every Monday and Friday, just something like that, so people can get used to like when you're posting, and making sure that you're like posting a couple times a week, and getting that established. Especially good with like branded things, like Stevie mentioned. You can throw your logo on pictures, or do graphics to advertise your upcoming shows. Also, was mentioned before, like making sure you're on stories, especially on Instagram. I would say Instagram and Facebook. I think Twitter has something now, but forget that. Yeah, posting consistently, and just building things that I'd say like building costumes and things that are in character. Like I was mentioning, picking little parts of your personality to bring out in your costume. Just like make more things that are on brand. More on brand outfits could be a good time to further that. If you are in character building, I guess 201 or 102, whatever the next one is. Yeah, those are my add-ons.
Unlike Stevie, I actually can't stop adopting drag children. I have 4. So, and I've had to put a personal stop on myself because my drag sister said, okay, you picked somebody up during quarantine enough. But I just always like helping new performers. So I keep doing that, but I really focus my attention on my 4 drag kids. What I did was I didn't pick new performers. A lot of the performers in my drag family, besides one, already had kind of like a realized drag persona when they started. But the problem is they didn't have a lot of the networking, and they weren't able to get to the next step of getting booked and getting shows. So a lot of the times what I would do is when I first put them in my family, I would just ask them like, what do you want to accomplish in drag? Like really, it's like, what are your end goals? I have one kid who's really into designing and making outfits, and they're very visual artists. They're also a painter as well, so they incorporate that in their performances. I have one child who is strictly a live performer and loves doing that. One child has actually applied to Drag Race before, and they've done pageants and competitions, and that's kind of their route. And they've also wanted to produce shows. And then my new child during quarantine, I met them doing digital drag, and they like Twitch streaming. So they do Animal Crossing and they do streams in drag, and they like being on the internet. So it's just 4 different like ways to go, but also all completely valid. And I think that really shapes their drag character as well. So I think in terms of like a worksheet, I think it's really good to just write out, even on paper, or just think about, what do you want to do with your drag? What do you want to accomplish? Because I think that'll really shape your character and what you want to do. Even though I like performing, I love hosting and producing a lot. So actually this year, even though I'm trying to produce more live events, I'm trying to actually book more hosts so I can be more on the business side and less maybe performing, which I'll still go out and perform. But I'm kind of very interested in the backstage. When I was in a theater major in college, I actually liked being a stage manager more than being a performer. So I think that's another point too, what Stevie made about like asking other queer artists and employing people. I think it's also great to reach out to friends to like design a logo or make a costume. And plus you're employing queer artists, which is always great. And really getting to the business side of everything. I know it's art and we enjoy creating it. I really think it's important that once you start either running shows or you start getting booked consistently, you are creating your character, but you're also running your own business. Your drag persona is your small business. So really pay attention to like marketing and branding and networking and all of that, and combining that, keeping track of your tips, keeping track of your booking schedule. It's even more important with digital drag of meeting deadlines for videos. So I think if you really invest in the business side too, I think that really shows a lot of growth, because I see a lot of performers say, oh, I'm not interested in that, I'm interested in performing. But I think to be a drag artist, you have to be involved with both, because you are your own manager.
Thank you. Our next question is, if you feel your persona is quirky and you like to experiment with different styles, how do you work your brand around that diversity of style?
Yeah, so I'm very quirky and I like all sorts of different styles. I will do male illusion sometimes, only when I'm doing like impersonations, which people live, especially the straights when you're doing drag brunches. Ooh, bust out an Elvis or a Freddie, make it rain. But like, I'll also, I've gone on stage dressed like a robot and have stripped as a robot. I've gone on stage as an animal before. It's just about, for me, still being recognizable. So when I do these different characters, aside from a couple of my impersonations, which are a bit of a special thing, it is Stevie Phoenix as this character. So a lot of times, like with my contour, you see, this base layer that I do is always the same. Now it might be a different color sometimes, or I might do some really big glam eye makeup, or but this spot, this kind of area, like it's generally like the same kind of contour. So I make sure that I'm still recognizable in these characters that I do. And I think that honestly, some of that comes with time. I think that sometimes for me anyway, in the beginning, I had ideas on ideas of things that I wanted to do, but I waited and I sat on those things because I was like, okay, now is the time for being consistent and getting your name out there. And I'm going to do that under, not to keep repeating myself, but under this guise of dad rock. And it wasn't until I became a little bit more well-known that I started venturing out into other styles of drag and other kinds of characters and things like that. So yes, experiment with different styles. You can work your brand around it by, like I said, keeping your makeup very similar in each look. Luna brought up a great point about colors, branded colors, maintaining a specific color in your outfit. I have 3 different jackets with 3 different phoenixes on them. Little things like that can really, little tiny visuals can really pull an entire thing together. So yeah, I would say if your persona is quirky and likes to experiment, then experiment. Have fun with it. Maintain some kind of element that still makes it very specific to you. For me, I'm very theatrical, I'm very campy. So most of my numbers maintain a small element of comedy or a small element of theatricality, or, people know that they're getting a consistent experience when they see me perform, even though I'm still prone to surprise them with different kinds of styles, if that makes sense.
I feel very similarly about that, about keeping just that piece of you and like doing these different things, but in the way that you would do it. I feel like I got a lot of experience with that through being on a Rocky Horror cast, just because it's like the same characters. And as you like learn them, you then, at least with my cast, it's different all over. But in Pittsburgh with the JCCP, we tend to, as we learn a character, we will put our own flair on it. Like when I became Rocky, I wore a gold bikini and I always wore pigtails. And like right now with my Frank, I need a better wig. I wear a big teased out wig instead of I used to wear like a more like the curls were to here, but now I like have a wig that I teased out and that's my Frank. And just like putting those little spins on things, and with cosplay or with just in general, just trying different like music genres even. I definitely don't have a single genre that I do. I do some things a lot. I don't even know. I'm like all across the board. I don't have a good example of that. But in general, no matter what I'm doing, there's generally a sense that I will have that moon goddess poise, and I will most likely be taking my clothes off because that's what I do. I love taking my clothes off. How will I take it off? You will see. Kind of a feel, but you could do different things. Like I can perform to Britney Spears, or I could perform to System of a Down and still have that little piece of me that's in there. I think that's the most important thing when trying out different styles. And definitely, as I said, I think in the first question, please try out different things. There's so many different styles out there. It's definitely worth experimenting, and you never know. You might surprise yourself and find something that just hits your soul just in that right place. I think that's what I got.
Yeah, I remember when I first started out, I was known for only doing songs with male vocals, and because I had such a punk aesthetic. So when I started changing my character, I started doing more female vocals in my songs. And I remember there was this one show where it was the first time I really just started changing up the music I did. And it was a one show in the Castro. I cannot remember the name. My friend will kill me. But I remember we had to do a genre or a song that is outside what we normally perform. And that was the theme of the show. So even though I'm a theater major, I've never done a Broadway song, one of my numbers. So I came out and did Don't Rain on My Parade. And I just remember I had this huge tulle skirt I ripped off. And everybody freaked out because they're like, Nitrix is doing musical theater. And I'm like, you can clearly see I'm a theater major by what I have on. Like, look at all this. This person has grown up in theater. But that was a side people didn't know because I'd always like Panic at the Disco or something else. So I've really learned that not only is trying different styles, does it help your character, it also surprises the audience too. So it's always, that's the best way. Trying something new is the best way to surprise an audience and get those tips because it's something they'd never expect from you. I've done several shows where I started doing hip hop and rap, which people would never expect from me because I'm very white. So that's another thing I try to do too. I'm doing a brunch show later today, and I'm doing Doja Cat and Kelly Clarkson, two completely different artists. But I also find a way to add comedy in it and really put Nitrix into the number and how I interact with the audience and how I perform the song. I've done ballads still. I've digital drag or in person. I've done ballads really serious. And I think if you're confident in what you're showing and what you're presenting, the audience will buy it, even though you're normally funny or do comedy. So I think really it's about presentation and intention and doing a lot of thinking of how you are going to put your spin on the number.
Thank you. Billie, I hope you don't mind. I feel like the next question coming up, they've all answered it very well. And
Yeah, I think
like
so too. Yeah.
something Nitrix just said is like put a little Nitrix in everything. And Luna was talking about how much there's still a piece of them inside
Right.
each different performance. So this next question had been about, does your persona need to evolve with each look, or do you have to keep the persona the same regardless of the look?
So that's a really great question. I feel like that's really up to you as an individual, you know. Your persona, I mean, it's gonna evolve. It's gonna evolve over time. You know, when I first started, literally stuck in the 70s and 80s, I'll come out and do anything now. I'll do Broadway, I'll do top 40, I'll do electronica music, like I'll do anything. I'll do a ballad, you know, kind of just going back to what Nitrix said, like get out there and surprise them. I'll do things with female vocals. Oh my God, people love that, especially when you like mix it with a song that's very similar. Like I'll do Sammy Davis Jr. Candyman, and then here's Christina Aguilera singing Candyman, or you know, the song Bang by AJR, and then whoop, oh, all of a sudden we're doing Bang by Jessie, Ariana, and Nicki Minaj. Yeah, I think that really depends on each individual artist and what your goal is. If your goal is to be a character performer, by all means, change your look and your persona with every character that you do. There's a really, really wonderful character drag artist in my area, Baja Blast. And with every look that they do, they look like a completely different person, but you still know that it's Baja. They will, they do everything. They have dressed up as Lumiere. They've done, you know, Fairly Odd Parents. They've done, they literally quartered their face off and did a meme in each quarter of their face. Like they are amazing. So I guess it really depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to be charactery and you want to create a new experience for people every time, that in and of itself is a brand. That in and of itself is a persona. If you're wanting more consistency and you want to have like a very, you know, for me, it's important for me to have a very similar look in everything that I do. Then yeah, with the exception of, like I said, when I do my illusions, I'll do a Freddie illusion, and y'all, I look like Freddie Mercury. Like my face looks like Freddie Mercury, you know, same with Elvis, same with Adam Lambert. You know, those are the only exceptions that I personally make for myself, but I don't think anybody can really answer that but you. So I hope that was helpful.
I agree completely. I feel like definitely like don't feel so much pressure to keep this perfect balance and stuff. Just feel it out, because it's going to be different for every single person. We have our experiences. Everyone is different. We all come from different places and have different things that we've learned and seen. So feel it out. Don't stress yourself out too much about it, I think is my main point. Definitely, no matter what, you are definitely going to evolve over time. I know I started out, I tried to be really sexy and I came off really cute. I was this little 22-year-old, but with time and practice, I can now be sultry. So who knows, you might not even quite reach what you're going for at first, but with time and doing it more, you'll get better and evolve. So I think no matter what you do, as long as you're always learning and trying and doing better, you should evolve, and that'll just be a part of it. And just feel it as you go. If you start off wanting to do one thing and end up wanting to do a different thing, don't stress about it. I've seen people who have completely rebranded after like years. Like it happens. They still have the people who love them. They just re-aimed their art. So feel it out, feel what's good for you, and don't be so stressed out. It's okay. Hug.
I go always back to like a theater term where it's just like, you know, you put on the costume and kind of like the character comes out of the costume. So it's a little different in drag because you've already built this character. But I really think getting fully into drag and getting out on stage, I really think that adrenaline and kind of just the look and the illusion of it really brings the character forward. So again, like Luna said, don't worry about it too much. Literally, once you step out on stage and when you put the costume and the hair and everything on, I mean, you will go into that character. Also, shout out to Baja Blast. Sorry, that is the best name I've ever heard. I love that name. But yeah, over digital drag, another thing besides burlesque, I've researched a lot and done is cosplay. I think cosplay is a great way to kind of build a character because you're already kind of like how they do a snatch game or kind of impersonating. I also think cosplay is a great way to work within a character that's already established. I've done everything now from like Pikachu to Danny Phantom. So it's a lot of cartoons, but they have very, very unique characters. And it's a really great way to put my drag character into it, but also kind of personify this character. So yeah, if you're into cosplay and you're nerdy like I am, like that's a great way to kind of build and live in a character. But yeah, just get the costume ready, get the performance ready. And once you step out there, you're going to go into that character no matter what kind of song or genre you do.
Well, thank you. We are in our second to last question. So our second to last question is, once a drag artist determines their brand and is developing a following, when is the best time to consider offering merchandise to followers?
Probably, I would give you one of two answers. One, when people start asking for it. If you don't want to wait for that, you don't have to. Two, do it when you launch your website. And offering merchandise is actually a lot easier than it sounds. A lot of people want to skip straight to t-shirts. Everybody thinks merch, everybody thinks a shirt. Definitely offer t-shirts. You can go through companies like Teespring and they will package everything for you and send it to the people for you. And they'll actually handle everything on the back end, and you can, decide how much you want to make off of each t-shirt. But truly my biggest sellers are my pins and my button, or my pins and my stickers. And that's because those are, $5 a pop, $7 a pop. And they literally cost me almost nothing to make. You can get stickers or pins and things like that through places like Sticker Mule. I actually source mine locally because I used to work for a sign company. So I'm very, very lucky. But reach out to people locally. Find sign companies. I know that sounds ridiculous, but sign companies deal with rolls and rolls and rolls of vinyl. You can often get stickers from them that you will then have to cut out yourself, basically, for very cheap. So yeah, start offering merch when you launch your website. I would say when you feel like it's time for a website, put some merch on there. Even if people don't buy it right away, that's okay. You have it there and it makes you look really fucking official.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that a lot. I think definitely I agree that wait for people to ask for it. I think also just in general, if you have a following, that's a good thing to go off of. A lot of my experience with merch is actually a lot more through my troops, specifically the Smokin' Betties, but also kind of the Rocky cast too, because I was the treasurer for a while. I agree. Stickers and buttons are the number one thing. T-shirts are great. I love buying t-shirts and supporting people and wearing them around. But you're going to get a lot more people buying buttons and stickers, and you can print those and do multiple designs, and people can cover things. And then you're also marketing, because then it's on their bags or their laptops. And one day when we're out in the world again, people might see these things out and about, and you might get someone who's searching your name on Facebook and finding you for the first time and finding drag for the first time. So those are some simple things. I also am a fan of like wacky things. We had a queen in our city who did lighters, and I really loved that because that's just such a handy thing. And then like lighters get shared a lot, probably more pre-COVID. But lighters get shared a lot, and then there's just this queen's name on it, and it's brilliant. So I'd say also like think outside the box for like little quirky things that people would want to buy. And I agree. Source locally as much as you can. I source my t-shirts. Actually, I ended up not having merch until my good friends over at Queen Tees was like, "Hey, you want some merch?" And I was like, "Sure." And people bought it, and it was really cool. So give it a shot. We're so very lucky to live in this age where it's a lot easier to get things printed. I remember back in the late 2000s making t-shirts for a band I was in with spray paint, and I had to sink a lot of money into it, and it was awful. But there are a lot of resources out there now, so take advantage.
I'm probably going to repeat a lot what Luna and Stevie said, but yes, I think my best seller, if I have a bestseller for merch, I don't sell a lot, but it's stickers. I remember what my friend called an evil genius move was the first time I went to DragCon. I was barely starting out. I had like under 1,000 followers on Instagram. And what I did was I bought a lot of stickers online. Like I basically bulk got them, and I brought like, probably 400 or 500 to DragCon. And I remember on each one, me and my friend print out labels, and we put my Instagram on the back of each one. And it just said, Nitrix, follow me on Instagram. So what my friend would do, if somebody would come up and take a picture of me, we'd hand them a sticker and a business card. And if anybody would come up and take a picture, like not like press or anything, we'd hand them a sticker. And I would say on the plane home, I remember, I probably got 400 followers just from that weekend from doing that, because they found the sticker after on the way home and they saw the Instagram on the back. And I got so much attention from that. And the other thing I remember doing with that is I didn't charge for it. And what I found is if you didn't charge for the sticker, definitely at somewhere like a convention where you're a local artist, people like, oh, they're not on a TV show or something. They put a lot of work into these. A lot of people will be more inclined to donate and just give you a couple dollars for it. So I probably made more than I would have charging people $3 for the sticker. I had people just hand me tips and I didn't require it, but if people wanted a picture of me or wanted a sticker, they would just give me a couple dollars. So I had like donations, and that was a long way too, especially if you're new. Just saying like, I'll take a couple dollars for it. It really goes a long way. Mm-hmm. Also, what Stevie and Luna said, sourcing locally. Shout out to one of my favorite performers in the city, Nikki Jizz. Nikki Jizz has the famous Jizz t-shirt, and I asked where they got those printed, and there's actually a t-shirt printing press in town that they told me to go to, and they do bulk orders. So thank you, Nikki. I'm going to hit them up soon. Just because Teespring and all those are good avenues, but sometimes they do charge a lot of shipping and a lot to run the website, and it charges a lot for your friends who just want to buy your merch. So I think sticking locally, not only since sometimes it could be cheaper, but also you get the shirts earlier, and definitely if you're on a deadline, you can get those at a certain time you need it. But yeah, we've had the lighter thing too, Luna. There's this Queen Terrible in town who started passing out the lighters and selling those. I think it's always good to find unique merch. I always say in the city, even though the stud is not open for the time being, I always said if your sticker showed up in the stud bathroom, then you have made it in the city. So it's always good to see your merch around, seeing it being worn, but it's also good, besides t-shirt and stickers, to come up with new merch ideas, stuff maybe people haven't thought of.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Well, you guys are a clairvoyant panel, because the last question we had was literally, what's the best or most successful items for merchandise, and what are the best or your favorite sources? So I think what I'll ask you guys just to finish us off here is, what are your guys's favorite piece of merchandise that you own? So it could be your own merchandise or merch from another performer.
Hard. I don't know. Probably my favorite merchandise that I sell. I'm going to do that because I feel like it's an easier answer. And Billie, I did want to ask you really quickly, is it okay if I dip out after I answer this so that way I can head to my gig? Or would you like for me to stay till the end? Okay. Thank you for being so kind.
People have places to go and stuff. And if you guys miss the recording here, you can always go back to our YouTube channel. It will be there and you can click on it and watch it anytime you need to. And you can also find all of their social medias and their tipping info in the description as well. All right.
Awesome. But yeah, so some of the successful items for drag artists to sell, big ones are stickers and pins. My favorite are probably my stickers because they're very easy, kind of tagging on to what Nitrix said. Put your handle on there, put whatever kind of, put your Instagram or your Twitter or your website, however you want to drive traffic to you, stick it on there, whether it's on the back or whether it's really, really tiny on the actual face of the sticker itself. Resources for designing and selling their own merchandise. For selling, pre-orders. Pre-orders is huge, especially if you don't want to go through a big company like Teespring that has a lot of those extra costs figured in. Pre-orders and post all about it, because I did pre-orders for my pins, for example. I did not have the $90 to shell out to get a bulk order of my pins, so I was like, all right, let's do pre-orders and do it at a sale price. They're $4.99. They are never going to be this price again. Get them now. Here are your only 3 options, and one of those options I decided to donate to charity. When you give, you will get. Philanthropy is not only necessary in our very capitalistic country, but it people see that you are genuine and you are kind, and you will get that in return. That is obviously not why we do charity, but it is a wonderful perk. So I did my pre-orders and I had more than enough money to be able to order that bulk. So that way that was cheaper for me. Resources for people who want to design their own merchandise. Oh boy, I'm a designer. I use Photoshop and InDesign. I know that those programs can be very, very overwhelming when you open them up first and take a look at them. That's okay. The only way to learn is to play around in there. I never went to school for graphic design. And my last job was as a graphic designer. It's okay. You can teach yourself. I promise. There are so many YouTube tutorials out there. But if you're trying to save money, if you're wanting to design your own merchandise for the sake of saving money, I would encourage you to reach out to a local queer artist instead. Because odds are they will create something for you that the end product is going to be something that is elevated and something that is excellent. And you'll be surprised at how little people charge for these things. Search it on Twitter, search it on Instagram. People are posting all the time. I will do this kind of character for you for $10. I will do this kind of character for you for $20. So I would say if you're wanting to learn because you want those skills, Photoshop, InDesign, and the School of YouTube. If you're wanting to do it to save money, I would say don't, and reach out to a designer. I love you all. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so sorry that I have to leave. This is a great idea, Billie and Shay. Thank you again for hosting me, and thank you for providing this for new drag artists.
Yeah, we'll be sure to bring you back soon too. You were lovely. Thank you very much for joining us today. And please follow and tip Stevie if you can. All right, have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right.
Well, I've got nothing really to add on to how to go about designing. That was basically what I was going to say. Support local artists, or just play around. I've been learning Photoshop and Illustrator. It's a lot of poking. So just keep patient and keep going, or pay someone and they can make it for you. So the question of my favorite merch, I have boiled it down to, and neither one of these are very helpful for advertising yourself. Okay. But my favorites are, one, the Smoke and Betty's my one troop. We used to have underwear, and I loved that I had underwear with my troops logo on it. So that was pretty cool. We saw some of it. It wasn't like really good underwear. So we didn't sell a whole lot, but that was fun. And my second one is a calendar from my Rocky cast. I am a little biased on that because I just want to see my friends' cute faces in a calendar. But also I like buying calendars actually from other performers too. So that is also an idea and just like the weird little thing that I like. Yeah.
I think for me, my favorite piece of merch right now is before COVID, we did my show Encore for musicals. And when we did Avenue Q, which has become a yearly tradition now, we're going to keep doing Avenue Q. And I remember my drag child stood behind me with two of my puppets, and I was here with my two sock ones. And somebody named Holly Graphics, who I definitely recommend, drew this like cartoon drawing of me with all the puppets around me and me with like a fedora hat and yellow jacket. It's my favorite drawing of me ever. And the stickers have turned out so cute. I look like a little like Sesame Street cartoon character. Because my house, we've named the House of Muppets. So we just joke that we're drag Muppets because we're a mostly non-binary house. So we just say we're the Muppets of drag. So it's just so cute and really sums up my drag aesthetic. It's my favorite thing. I think other people's merch, my favorite, besides the infamous Nikki Jizz shirt, I always carry around a fan that a local designer drew for Oaklash for our drag festival. Fans are also great. I know they're expensive, but you're able to find some people who can mass produce them. Again, pre-order in quantities. That is the best way to save money. But this Oaklash fan I bring everywhere because one, I love Oaklash. It's our community's biggest drag festival, and it's all run by and started by a panel of drag artists. So I always like to share as much as I can, and also too, the design's really great. But I literally bring it to every show. If I ever lose the fan, they know it's mine because that's like the only fan I carry around. But another thing too, it doesn't have to do with merch, but more I forgot about social media. A really great way to share a merch website and other links. There's some, I use Flow Page, but there's some websites where you can create a page where it links all your social media and merch, like in a chain, and you can put the link in your Instagram bio. That way they can click on it and all your links are in one place where they can find Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, your Twitch, your merch, your website. It's all right there. It's also a great way to post like Eventbrite and stuff for like brunch shows or other events where there's reserved seating, which is definitely important during COVID right now. So I definitely suggest getting like a Flow Page or something like that, a chart where they can click the link and find everything one place.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you for Nitrix, and thank you, Luna, and thank you, Stevie, for joining us today. You all were fabulous, and all of your knowledge is so helpful for all the new drag artists out there. And please tune in for future panels. And also, if you miss watching this panel, it will be on YouTube, and you can find it on our YouTube channel called Drag Channel. And you will also find our fabulous panelists and Shay and I's social medias and tipping info in the description of this video as well. Well, thank you guys again for joining us today, and please tune in for next time, and we'll see you later. Bye.